Welcome to another episode of the Bleed Los podcast, a special pregame edition of this rubber match with the San Diego Padres as we inch ever closer to the end of the 2024 Major League Baseball regular season. Before we get into that, remember, guys, we want to hear from you in the comments. The best way to do that is to make sure you're super active in the chat. Use the super chats. That way we can see your conversations and then any questions that you guys want to have. And right now, I am joined by Roger, who is currently at the stadium covering the team today. Hopefully that he's going to be covering a celebration after the game if the Dodgers win today. And I'm also joined by Carlos the Gambler. But yeah, before that, let's get the business side out of the way. Roger, I'll pivot it to you for the pregame read.
So yeah, I'm at the game, so if it's a little noisy, pardon the background noise. But first, let's take care of some business here. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at a weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our new over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in all the action. Bet online. The game starts here.
Alrighty, and we already got a couple people in the chat. Some of our regulars, Denny Cortez, she is back, and we also got Dennis Gonzalez. And Denny, you bring up a great point. Juan is not here. He is currently also at the game as a fan today, enjoying the last regular season game at Dodger Stadium today. So he's soaking up, the entire season. He's seeing Ohtani in person. Hopefully, same as Roger, is going to see the team potentially clinch today. But Carlos, we got a lot to talk about, especially with these two games here. It's been postseason atmosphere at Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine. San Diego Padres, they're, fighting not only to, they clinched their first playoff berth since 2022, but they're also looking to, push the Dodgers to the brink and try to win this division. And a good way for them to do that would be to win this series today in the rubber match. But let's get into the first 2 games of the series. A lot to unfold here, but what have you seen from the Dodgers or even the Padres, or just what are your overall thoughts on the series so far as we come into today?
So it was actually at both games. I was there Tuesday and Wednesday, and the things that stood out, number one, the bullpen. The bullpen has 9 shutout innings, and they just been lights out. And it's great to have confidence in the bullpen, no matter who's coming in. It's been great. The other one that's really stood out to me is Shohei. Shohei, actually, I was keeping score yesterday, and it was like, oh, when is he going to come back up to bat? Because he was actually producing. He might have had 1 strikeout the 2 games, or maybe 2, but just the fact that like that double off the wall, that was impressive, man. I thought that ball was going to go out. That ball was, I think, 117. So he's stepped it up. He's realized the moment and the playoff atmosphere for sure at Dodger Stadium. I mean, if it's been rocking and Shohei Ohtani has taken that in. I even heard that he's been more vocal than usual. He's like pumping his fist in the air, saying, "Let's go, guys!" So he's if he's gonna play like this in October, it's gonna be a different October. So let's get all the positive stuff out of the way. Starting pitching hasn't been great, but it hasn't been awful. Flaherty went 3 earned runs, but still, like I said, the bullpen saved them, kept the Dodgers in the game. So all that's been good. I mean, throughout the lineup, we've had hits. I mean, from the 9th batter, 7th batter. I mean, it's been throughout the lineup, so that's been good. Defense, I don't think we have an error. So defense has been good, and I mean the Padres came to play. Look, the Padres came to play. If they don't turn that triple play on Tuesday, I mean, we could be 2-0 in this series. We could have clinched yesterday, which that's what I was hoping for, because I'm obviously not going today. But yeah, that triple play was like, I think Roger and I were talking about. I think it was like a 1% chance of that happening, and I mean, and unfortunately, Miggy doesn't bunt, gets hurt the next day, and it's like he's had like not the greatest series, unfortunately for him, personally. But the bunt has to be put. You got to put down the bunt. I think even though analytics say that the bunt's not worth it. I mean, just sometimes it wasn't even to get out of triple play, just to avoid the double play. And I think that's. I mean, like I said, I want to stay positive right now and give good vibes to the Dodgers because I hope they clinch today. I'm gonna be watching that game with family, and I'm hoping to take some shots of tequila tonight.
Yeah, for anyone that hasn't, if you're a Dodger fan, you haven't gotten to watch these two games, you're missing out because this is probably as close to October feel that you're going to get at this point in the season, which, it's unfamiliar territory if you're a Dodgers fan, that's been watching the past 10 years because, most of these seasons they've kind of clinched, with weeks ahead of time. There's really no pressure where this is the first time, I've brought it up before where since the 2021 season where they've kind of been pushed to the brink. They ended up losing the division that year to the San Francisco Giants, who won 107 games to the Dodgers 106. But yeah, so recapping so far of this game, you brought up game one with the triple play that ended the game. Padres narrowly escaped with the victory. Not only did they win that game, but they clinched their postseason berth that I already mentioned. They also, this Padres team, they've been playing really good. They have over 90s wins. It's the only fifth time in franchise history they've ever eclipsed that mark. And manager Mike Schilt, he's pretty much turned this team around. They are kind of a thorn in the Dodgers' bush this year. They lead the season series 8-4 over the Dodgers. They already won that. So that's why this series for the Dodgers is as important as it is, because if they tie the division, then the Padres win the NL West. But the Dodgers have a chance. They're in the driver's seat tonight after yesterday's 4-3 win. But let's get into the game one because you already started talking about it, and that was the triple play. The Dodgers, for the most of the game, they didn't take advantage of, Michael King, especially in that first inning where they had him throwing almost 30, 35 pitches and, had him working, couple walks, couple hits, and, you have runners at the corners and they can't capitalize more in that inning. But then you fast forward all the way to the end of the game after Kike gets a nice key hit. You got Ohtani on deck. You get the first two batters on. Miguel Rojas, all he has to do is put down a bunt. They ended up showing that, but then Dave Roberts ended up changing the call and wanting him to swing away. I'm interested to see, because you already kind of alluded to your thought process on it. Did you think Miguel Rojas should have 100% been bunting in that situation?
100%. And the reason for that is because we're trying to avoid the double play. That's it. Forget the triple play. I mean, that's just so rare. But we are avoiding the double play. If he pops it up, if he strikes out on the bunt, on the third attempt bunt, that's fine. You still have runners on first and second. Or if he does execute the bunt and you have runners on second and third, they walk Ohtani. That's fine. Bases loaded. Yes, I know Betts has gone 0 for 8 in the series, but still, Betts, for some reason, when his ego, when Ohtani's walked, his ego, rises for the occasion, and he typically gets a hit. So with that being said, yeah, I think that was the call. The right call was to bunt. Don't take the bunt off. And then I also read that because he showed bunt the first at bat, Manny was playing in. So the shot made it easy for Manny just to literally lunge at step on the bag and then throw it around the horn. So that in itself, that just didn't play well. Just baseball. We're talking about baseball in general. Like these are like simple rules that you're taught as a kid. I mean, just bunt the ball, man. And this is why, analytics to some extent. I mean, it's I wouldn't say it's ruined the game, but I mean, execute a bunt. I mean, it would have changed the outcome of the game for me, I think.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I grew up in an era where bunting isn't a thing. I never learned how to bunt in my years growing up playing baseball. The kids I coach and, see play now, like my younger brothers, if you ask them what a bunt is, they probably don't know what it is. It's just something that's kind of lost in today's games. But these major league players, they know what a bunt is. And I think the blame goes to multiple players and the coaches. Blame goes to Dave Roberts for just not sticking with his guns and saying, hey, we just drop the bunt. You're going to get a sacrifice bunt. You want to try to move these guys, from runners from. You want to get that runner to third at least. Yeah, you want to move up the runners any way you can, especially with Shohei Ohtani coming up to bat, because the way I was reading that whole situation, they had Peralta, the lefty, warming in the bullpen. I don't think they were going to walk Ohtani. I think if Suarez, who's kind of been up and down despite having a dominant season, I think they probably would have pulled him if that triple play didn't happen. Bring in Peralta to face Ohtani, and then you take your chances with Betts and seeing what happens, who has kind of looked lost this entire series. So, you'll take your chances, even though, Betts has looked really good, especially with Ohtani in front of him in those clutch situations. But yeah, I think Rojas gets some blame, and he took a lot of accountability, especially after in the post game interview, kind of just putting the whole loss on himself, which it isn't fair, but he does deserve some criticism because once you show bunt, the worst thing you do in that situation with no outs, as a hitter, you just don't want to put it on the ground. And he put it right on the ground to probably the worst spot in the infield to put it, with the infield kind of not necessarily playing in, but a little bit, closer to the bag than usual where Machado would be. Your job as a hitter in that situation, if you're not putting a bunt down, you got to get it in the air. You got to get it somewhere just to advance the runner because you're trying to inch away at that lead. And Rojas' job as the ninth hitter is to move the lineup around and get the top of the order. Because I would much rather, Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman go down and get beat than have the 1% chance play of a triple play happening or even a double play. Because I think a double play in that situation probably just kills the inning as well. So I don't know. It's really hard. There's a lot of blame that can go. Dave Roberts has caught a lot of heat, especially because a lot of fans that are passionate like us that cover the team were like, hey, this is what Dave gets. This is where Dave kind of messes up as a manager, where it's these high leverage situations and, he second guesses himself. But during the regular season, he's one of the best, managers in baseball, where it seems like every move that he pushes ends up working out. So I think there's a lot of blame to go. I'm just thankful that they rebounded well, especially off of Dylan Cease, because let me tell you, even with Jack Flaherty going, I didn't expect much on Dylan Cease. I thought he was going to probably shut down the Dodgers. For the most part in the first game, he was, until the offense started chipping away, especially with his lack of command. But before we look into today's game, what did you see from yesterday's game, Carlos, especially with Cease on the mound and the Dodgers, getting the crowd into it? You were a fan there. What was the environment like and everything else?
Yeah, so I was out in left field, and it was like I said, it was hyped to begin the game. Dodgers got a run in the first, I believe, and then they kind of just got into that Dodger where the game just kind of it's just continuing, nothing's happening. Yeah, I liked how they came back to get the lead. They tied the game on Tatis home run, but then they came back and got another run. I like the fight. What I saw them. Dylan Cease didn't seem to completely dominate the Dodgers. He had a high pitch count early on. He got it under control. I think it was the second or third inning where he threw 7 pitches or something. So that, I think it was the third inning, because it was against, I think, Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. Yeah, the only negative of the game we're going to reflect is Betts. So Betts did something, I don't know how often it happens, but he actually popped up to first on the foul ball, popped up to second, popped up to short, and I think popped up to third base. He had, because I actually was keeping score, and I'm like, oh my, this guy's popped up everywhere. So, Betts, I'm not sure what happens, when it comes to these high leverage game. I hope that, what happened last year in the playoffs is not going to repeat itself. But so hopefully he has a good game today. Other than that, I think Danny mentioned earlier, I was out there with Roger at the Faith gathering with Kershaw, and all the pitchers who were there, were blessed with great games yesterday. Treinen came in, had a good outing. Kopech came in to shut out the close out the game. So it was, I thought overall it was a good fought game. It was very exciting, 1-run game. It felt like kind of an old baseball. It definitely had that playoff vibe, and these are the type of games that are going to occur during the playoff season. 1-run games, and you got to just execute. And when you can score 1 run at a time, because every little bit's going to count.
Yeah, and let's stay on Mookie Betts here because, like you said, I don't want Betts to struggle in the postseason again. It seems like if you go all the way back to the 2021 NLCS, he's kind of been an afterthought in terms of the Dodgers, success. He hasn't really came through at all for the team. And last postseason, him and Freeman were pretty much not helpful at all, and they were a major reason why the Dodgers were swept. But you look at this series, it's a big series. There's no way to get around that. This far into the regular season with the division on the line, and so far Mookie Betts' series is 0 for 8, and even over his last 10 games, he only is batting 190. I know he has the walk-off home run in there, but it just doesn't look like something's right with Betts right now. Even Dave Roberts said that he's probably pressing a little bit. Do you think it's more of, is he not fit for the big game, or do you trust him in the long run to kind of correct this for October? We still got what? We got today's game and we got 3 more games in Colorado. Colorado, I feel like, is a really good place to get your swing back on track. Am I not wrong?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Colorado, he's gonna have to play the last 3 games. I mean he doesn't need the rest because he's had the rest during his IL stint. So I think Mookie, I think he'll figure it out. I think what happened last year, I think that's going to be something he's going to reflect on and just move forward. I think he'll be fine. We just need the whole team in general. I mean, Otani's this series has been great. Freeman had a good game yesterday. Edman had a clutch hit. I mean, overall, the team's ready. I think we're ready to play. I love these type of games at the end of the season because it really gets you ready. It gets you amped up for this type of environment. I mean, Kopech, once again, he was just pumped up getting that third out. So it's exciting baseball, man. It was great. I mean, the atmosphere. I'm telling you guys, if you guys don't go to these games, it's hard to explain. It's like it's so great. It was a lot like it feels like it's literally already the division series, and that we might face them. We might face them in the division series. So this is great. This is a great what do you call it? Like a great training, I guess, for what we're going to expect in the playoffs.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. This is kind of a prelude series. I think in terms of seeding, when I checked this morning, where it stands right now, the Dodgers, they are the number 1 seed. They would face the winner, I believe, of the Mets and Padres. Kind of unfortunate to be the number 1 seed. You get to take your pick on the 2 hottest teams in the National League, probably. And then you go from there in the NLDS. In terms of where the Dodgers stand coming into this game, yes, the division isn't fully clinched yet. The magic number is 2, so a win today does get the division clinched. They already clinched a first-round bye if they win the division. They're just battling neck and neck with the Philadelphia Phillies in terms of who's going to have that best record and have a bye or have home field advantage all the way to the World Series. But even if they say for whatever reason they end up losing, the division, which is what we don't want to happen, they already clinched home field advantage for the wild card round if that does come to pass. But I feel like I'm very confident that they're going to win either today or at least 2 of 3 in Colorado. So I'm going to say the division's not a lock per se, but it's probably as close to as a lock as it's ever going to be because, look at the facts. The Dodgers still have a 3-game lead with only 4 games left. That those odds are really in their favor right now. The clock has been ticking against the Padres. They've been playing behind all season. They wiped away a 9-game division lead or a division deficit, and to bring it up to this point, so credit to them. But even despite what the Dodgers and all their injuries that they've had this year, looks like they're going to hang on and win the division and get a much-needed 5-day layoff because I think it's funny because last year and the year before, everybody complained about the 5-day layoff. I'm pretty sure all of us are in agreement that this team in particular needs a break. Do you agree with Carlos?
Yeah, people are always saying, is it better for the Dodgers just to play through the playoffs? You know what? I mean, the last 2 years say that it is. But you know what? This team has faced a lot of injuries, and I think they want that rest. I think as a fan and watching them, I think the break is going to be fine for them. I think how they play in the playoffs, I don't really think it has to do a lot with, the break. I think it's just get mentally prepared. I think a lot of teams, they played the Padres and the Diamondbacks the last 2 seasons, and they just seem to be more amped up to play them. I feel like they have a chip on their shoulder, and the Dodgers just kind of go in there like, oh, we're going to win this game. But I think this year is different. I think we have what it takes from previous seasons. I mean, the bullpen's good. I mean, the lineup is solid. We just have to hit. Starting pitching still a question mark, but we're going to have to figure those things out.
Yeah. And before we even get started into today's game and breaking that down between Walker Buehler and Joe Musgrove, A lot of injury updates from Dave Roberts in today's pregame. Before today's game, they made a couple roster moves. Austin Barnes was activated off the 10-day IL, who suffered another fractured toe. Having that happen 2 times in the span of like a month, that's pretty unfortunate for his foot. But he is back. Hunter Fiducia was optioned back to AAA. The Dodgers also recalled Ben Kasparius, who, if you remember, was sent back down to AAA a couple days ago, or I believe before yesterday's game. He's back, but he is back for an unfortunate reason. He is allowed to come back due to injury, which Brusdar Graterol unfortunately is landing back on the injured list yet again with shoulder inflammation. It's kind of a recurring theme for him this year. Even Dave Roberts mentioned it's something that he's been dealing with all the way back in spring training. We covered it, if you can think back that far. That was the first thing that put him on the injured list and got shut down in spring training, and it's kind of lingered all the way to the end of the season. They didn't rule him out for the postseason. Hopefully, maybe it's just like a week off thing, and then he can come back for the NLDS and be ready to go. But the Dodgers, obviously, if he's not ready to pitch today, they're going to make that move there. We also got some updates on Clayton Kershaw. It seems like he's weeks away. I'm putting doubt in him coming back at all this season. I'm curious to see what you think in that, and maybe if that's kind of a good thing that he's not going to be starting a playoff game for us, at least in the first round. And then Miguel Rojas, someone that's been one of the most valuable players for this team this year, especially with the amount of injuries they've had. He's had a career year, a renaissance year in his age, I believe 35, 36 season, his best offensive year of his career. He's kind of going through it right now, potential season-ending injury. He says that he's going to be back Sunday or at least in the postseason, but he had an MRI yesterday. He's got a left adductor muscle. That's not what you want, especially as a shortstop who's moving around with your groin, especially being in the batter's box. So all that information, Carlos, are you losing faith in this team going into October?
Well, we already knew that the starting rotation was going to be an issue. Ever since Glasnow went down, we knew it's going to be an issue. We still have Flaherty. Yeah, Flaherty hasn't been as sharp the last 2 outings, but still, I'll take Flaherty anytime. Yamamoto, yes, wasn't that great his last outing, but I'll still take Yamamoto. Number 3, we have to take Knack. Knack is going to be the number 3. I can't even think of another pitcher that's available to start the game. And I think what we've been saying here on the podcast, Game 4, hands down, I'm so sure that it's going to be a bullpen game. I can't even imagine them starting Flaherty in a short rest when we can't afford for any more pitchers to get hurt. Am I concerned? The answer is no, because we've been talking about this for like the last month, and the Prince of Darkness kind of predicted all this stuff was going to happen. And sure, give him credit for like being so pessimistic, but he was realistic, because it all came for fruition that all these players are going to go down, and they all went down. So that's unfortunate, but we need to. That's why a while back, I know somebody on the comments had mentioned about offense. Really, our offense, and I know when it comes to the playoffs, it's all about defense, all about pitching. The offense has to figure it out. We got to score runs. We got to score quite a bit of runs. I think if we can get 4+ runs per game, I think we'll be fine. But if we get those games where we're just scoring 1-2 runs, those are going to be tough to win. Any team, because every team that's making the playoffs, they're on some sort of run. Like you guys are saying, the Mets look good, the Padres are playing good ball. D-backs are kind of falling back, but we're going to play good teams. Brewers are playing good ball, so that side I'm not. So offense, I'm okay. I think the bullpen it's a plus. We're actually pitching better. Our bullpen's pitching better than the Padres in this series, and the Padres were supposed to have the better bullpen. We were always talking about they had the younger arms and we had the older arms. Well, the old arms are doing, whatever they're doing, it's working. Yeah, to get the JR says 6 runs. Yeah, 6 runs. You get the chicken nuggets.
Yeah, I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Dodgers offense, and that is scary to think about, because if you think of one thing that's kind of been the Achilles heel of the Dodgers this entire decade of runs, is that the years that they don't put it all together, a massive reason. I would say almost every time it's because the offense just couldn't come through, whether it was runners in scoring position, not being able to do situational hitting, not able to get, the key base hit, stolen base, or whatever you want to point to. It's usually the offense, especially if you look at the past 2 years, your top three of the order, they can't go hitless. They can't go, a one for, 50 in the series. You're never going to come away with victories that way. And the Dodgers, if they want to win, especially in that first round, they're going to have to score. They're going to have to score often. If there's one guy I feel like I'm sold on right now that's going to live up to the challenge, I think it is Ohtani. If you look at his September stats, he's kind of going on a tear right now. He's got an OPS over 1,000, 9 home runs, 13 stolen bases. He has 1.9 F4 in this month. No other player in baseball is even at 1.5. He's going to win the MVP this year. He's probably going to finish at least a 55-55 club when he gets to Colorado. He's going to be the first player since, the steroid era to have 400 total bases. This guy's the complete package, and these last two games got me really excited because this is the most emotion I think we've seen Ohtani show in his entire career besides the WBC. I think this is a guy that wants to win, and guys, we gave him a $700 million contract for a reason, not for the long-term investment of the Dodgers, but I think he can be the game changer that the Dodgers need, especially to set the tone. Out of all the players that are on this roster, there's a couple guys that are really trying to make the most out of their opportunities right now, and another one is Michael Kopech leading the bullpen. This guy just avoided ending the season with a 120-loss team in the north side of Chicago with the White Sox, and here's the thing. The bullpen, they're going to have to be nails the entire rest of the way, and they've been really, really good right now. Blake Trinan's, appearance yesterday was just filthy, striking out Machado on 3 pitches. This is a guy, Manny Machado, who's been really good in the second half. You're kind of starting to see the bridge to get to the 9th inning if only starters can go maybe 4 or 5 innings. Alex Vesia over his last 10 games or 10 appearances, 0 earned runs. Kopech has a 2.35 ERA over his last 8 games. Another unsung hero who I think, is going to be a part of those potential bullpen games of the postseason. I know you liked him, Carlos. Brent Honeywell. This guy has been a godsend in terms of eating innings in the bullpen and being very effective. 3.00 ERA in 12 innings pitched. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to make the postseason roster, especially in a lengthy, innings eater role. The way I'm seeing a game 4 is you maybe start Landon Knack, get like 2-3 innings out of him, and then go to the rest of the bullpen. I don't know. They're going to have to get really crafty. It reminds me a lot of 2020 because going into that season, they really only had 2 starters. It was Kershaw, Buehler, and then you kind of had the rest of the crew of a few rookie starters. And you had Tony Gonsolin, you had Dustin May, you had a lot of these arms, but they kind of just pieced it together to eventually, win the World Series. And don't forget, guys, they won World Series Game 6 with a bullpen game. They know how to do this. They've mastered bullpen games. We're going to see it in October. If this team goes on a deep run, it's going to be an unorthodox way of doing it. And I feel like it would be the most Dodger thing or most baseball thing ever the year the Dodgers kind of limp into the postseason. Still, some reason having the best record in baseball. I still don't know how we haven't fathomed that yet. They are the best team in baseball right now. They have the best record, a half game up over the Phillies. I don't know. I have confidence because of that, but then I lose confidence because I look at the starting rotation. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens over these next couple games. Is there anything else you want to touch on the injuries or anything?
On the injuries, I mean, hopefully Miggy, I heard he was going to get a quarter sun shot today or tomorrow, right? I think today's Thursday. Yeah, today. So, hopefully he comes back. I mean, he has been the X factor. He's been a pleasant surprise. But we'll see. We'll see how he recovers. And that's another reason why we want those days off. Someone like him is going to benefit from those days off. And I just wanted to mention Simeon. Don't forget the AM PM free hot dog and Coke for the stolen base yesterday too. And so that's what I got.
But yeah, let's get into this game because it's a big game right now. Dodgers, the magic number, as I already mentioned, is 2 games. A win tonight seals the deal, and they can coast into the postseason, knowing that they have the first round bye, knowing that they're going to have home field advantage, at least into the NLCS. and still they're with the Phillies. They're a half game up on the Phillies. They could potentially come out with the best record in all of baseball if they, take 2 out of 3 in Colorado and seal the deal. But looking at tonight's matchup, we got Walker Buehler, who's kind of been up and down his last 2 starts. He had six solid innings against the Atlanta Braves despite having 5 walks. He struck out 5, only allowed 1 earned run in that Sunday night victory. But then, in his next start against Colorado, we saw what happened. He gives up a home run, 4 earned runs, 5 hits, but he struck out 9 Colorado Rockies hitters, which I don't know if that's saying something, because I think the next game after that, or 2 games after that on Sunday, the Rockies struck out like 18 times. So, but he had the strikeout work in that game. He's coming into today. I'm hoping we can get some, big game Butane Buehler. He's pitched many big games in the past. He started the NLDS before. He's pitched game 163. He threw a shutout in the World Series, in his rookie year. You're looking for him to potentially, give us 5, maybe 6 solid innings, and then hand it off to the bullpen and go from there. And hopefully they're coming away with a win today to just wrap up this division. But opposing him on the mound is Joe Musgrove, who has been really good since being activated off the 15-day injured list in August. 2.05 ERA with a 2.41 FIP, a whip under 1, and he is striking out a lot of batters, almost an 11 Ks per 9 innings pitched. But yeah, this matchup, what are you looking for? Do you expect, the Dodgers, to eat off Musgrove, or are you expecting Buehler to rebound off his last start? What are your thoughts for today's game?
So my thoughts are, the Dodgers know Musgrove pretty well. And just like the Padres know Buehler pretty well, if we're looking for Betts to bounce back, and this is not a small sample size, this is on 19 at-bats. Betts is batting .368 against Musgrove, so he should have a good day. We have 4 guys batting well above 300 against Musgrove career-wise. I mean, we have Muncy batting .393. We got Edman batting .333 and Freeman batting .370. And like I just mentioned, Betts .368. So if we want Betts and Muncy to get out of their slump, this is the day. It doesn't matter Musgrove's last 5 appearances. It doesn't matter. They know each other well. And if they don't execute their pitches, either pitcher, it's going to be a long day. You know what? I would love to see today, because we've been watching close games, kind of pitching matchups or pitching duels. Let's watch like a 10-8 game today. It's going to be nerve-wracking, but let's go on top 10-8 Dodgers. I want to see that kind of game today, and it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I could definitely see Buehler giving up 8 runs. I mean, this Padres offense is relentless. I think they're one of the most annoying offenses, if you had to ask me, because they just don't strike out. They like to put the ball in play, and I think Luis Ariz was a big reason why they brought him in. His philosophy of hitting, as many people like to say it's overrated, it's just meshing with their clubhouse. I can't say how many times, getting one of their hitters, especially Ariz, is an easy out, because that guy can hit any single pitch as long as it's close to the strike zone. He makes at bats go, 5, 6, 7 pitch at bats. That's stuff that's annoying for a starting pitcher. Walker Buehler struggled mightily with his command all season, and that's kind of to be expected. His first year coming back from Tommy John surgery. Oral Hershiser has been saying all year, the last thing to come back is the feel and the command of the pitches that you are throwing. You see a couple weeks, you see his last start against the Braves, you're getting a lot of, you got a lot of walks, but he got out of traffic. I don't think he can do that same thing today with this Padres offense. I just don't. So I think he's going to have to be aggressive. He's going to have to attack the zone. And he's going to have to be careful, because I can already tell you, I'm just going to call my shot. I'm pretty sure Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to go hit another home run today. What's it going to be? Number 13 in his 13th home run at Dodger Stadium in his career. So Dodgers offense is going to have to bail him out. But I still think he'll give the team a 5 or 6 solid inning game, because they kind of need it right now, because they don't have a day off tomorrow. They go straight to Colorado for 3 games there, and depending on what happens today, those are going to be must-win games again. So hopefully the offense can step up today. I hope Shohei Ohtani has a big night, just because he likes to do things for the theatrics, and especially on a night where he can the day the Dodgers clinched the postseason berth, he went 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs and 3 home runs. Maybe the day that they can clinch the division, give me, I won't maybe say 6 for 6, but maybe give me like a 3 for 5 with a bomb or a 3-run bomb here or there. But I definitely would like to see more runs scored.
Yeah, definitely. I think today is like those games where they say throw the kitchen at them. Use everybody, because if they win today, yeah, they travel to Colorado, all the starters, everybody's going to rest. So I think today's the day. You got to win today, clinch the division, and then tomorrow you can rest, and then maybe you play some of your guys on Saturday, maybe half a game, and then same thing on Sunday, and then you get the break. So yeah, I think today's such a vital game for the Dodgers, such a pivotal game of the season to like just step on these Madres and move forward, from here.
Yeah, I sound like a broken record, and I'll probably tweet it again today, but I just think it's a must-win game. You don't want to lose 2 to 3 in this series. They had to come in and just win 2 games, and then they win the division. I don't think it's going to bode well for them to, say lose this series and go into Colorado still playing, meaningful games where the Rockies are going to play spoiler. They looked really good in the first game of that series. Now they're going to be home where they hit really well. You don't want to go into that, especially with the divisional opponent. They want nothing more than to see you lose. You already punched your ticket to the postseason. They'll love to make sure that you don't win the division. So I think the Dodgers need to win this game. I hope that they win the game. I said in our offline chat, I think they'll probably come away with the victory today. I think Buehler does pitch probably one of his better starts of the season. I think the offense kind of, gives Joe Musgrove a little bit of a regression start, especially off the stuff that you mentioned. They've hit him pretty well throughout his career. We'll see what they do today, but yeah, there's a lot to go through with this series. Potential postseason preview. Like I said, if the postseason ended today, those are the two of the teams that the Dodgers could face are the Mets or the Padres. But anything else you want to close out for this series before we move on to the next thing?
Series. I mean, let's just call our shots. I think Muncie's going to take Musgrove deep today, for sure. 2-run homer, and I'm calling it.
I'd like Betts to do something today, especially after all the hate he's getting, because that'll kind of just segue to our next thing that I kind of want to touch on real quick, because Mookie Betts is getting an unfathomable amount of hate.
I think Ohtani's going to go deep.
You think Ohtani's going to go deep? I think you got an Amber Alert going off. But yeah, Ohtani going deep for Roger. You got Max Muncy. I would love to see Max Muncy get into there, but I would love Betts to, participate in one of these games and show me what he's made of.
He mentioned last night how they asked him how he's energized for this playoff run. Like he's never been in the playoffs. So, and we've seen that new energy from Shohei. Like you guys mentioned, he's out there. He's getting big hits. He's looking back and he's yelling back at his dugout. Like, come on, let's go. So, I think tonight's gonna. He mentioned he's excited about. He wanted to clinch at home. So. Hopefully we see a big game out of Shohei tonight.
Yeah. Before we go on the next thing, I do want to touch on all the hate that Betts has been getting lately, especially appearing on his, usually he has a guest from the other team come on his podcast. Carlos, I don't know if you've ever listened to an episode or seen it from Bleacher Report. Today's episode that he dropped, kind of controversial. I'm kind of interested to see your thoughts on it. He had Fernando Tatis Jr. on, and they talked a lot about especially the first 2 games of this series, specifically the triple play. Obviously, the 2 players are going to be very cordial with one another. They're Major League Baseball players. That's their job. They're part of the same company, but they are on different teams. Do you think it's a bad look, especially at this time of the year?
Well, I think we always talk about, the age gap between yourself and like Roger and I, and so we grew up in different eras, and it was like, man, if you talk to Tom, if you were to ask Tommy Lasorda what he thought about Mookie Betts having Tatis in his podcast, Tommy Lasorda would have probably cussed him out, say, what the hell are you doing, but the game has changed. It's not the same. I mean, shit, it's a podcast he's having and interviewing players, it's crazy to think that he's interviewing probably the 3rd most hated player on the Padres roster, because Machado's number 1 and Profar has leaped from like the bottom to number 2. So it's hard to see him do that, but I get it. It's no big deal. I mean, it kind of sucks. It kind of sucks he's doing it during the series. Maybe if he did it, but I get it. He's in town, so I know that's why he's doing it. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It's the new baseball.
I like his podcast. I love any type of content where we can kind of get an inside look of the game, especially how these players deal with a variety of things, because the conversations they have, they go all over the place, whether it's baseball related, off the field, celebrity stuff, you name it. Tatis is an interesting guy. I mean, he is one of the best baseball players playing right now. There's no arguing that. I just think posting this episode with Tatis, it's just the wrong look. I don't know if, and I can get why players or fans are mad, especially after the first game lost where Betts brought up the triple play. They had a clip of it, and he was kind of just saying, that just didn't look like Betts was fazed by it at all. Where most of us were all just furious, especially how that game ended, and then you see your quote unquote leader of the team, one of the highest paid players, kind of just joking around with it. I don't know, Roger, you're old fashioned. What do you think of Betts having Tatis on?
Yeah, kind of what Carlos was saying. I mean, I get it. I mean, he usually interviews someone from the opposing team when they're in town. This is the Padres. And this time with Tatis. Like old school would be like, you're not talking to these dudes. You don't want anything to do with them. But like, that's the thing that I guess bothers some fans today is like, these dudes are all friends. Like, they'll go and they'll chat and do whatever, right? They're all fans. They'll kick back. And in olden times, guys hated playing. They wanted to beat these guys, like, and they wouldn't do anything with them. They wanted no association with them. So, things have changed. But, I also kind of look at it too, like, is it kind of the same thing as, we're a podcast, right? Like, there's many podcasts out there as well, right? They're all competitors. If you look at, podcasts, right? Everybody's competition. So if we invite somebody, say, hey, we invite Doug from Dodgers Nation, right? That's competition, right? All these guys have competition. Any other podcast competition. If we invite one of them on to come on this show, kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, you're onto something there. I just think it's if the Dodgers, say Betts was like, hitting 500 this series and then he still had Tatis come on, I don't think anybody would have cared. It's just the fact that Betts is in a slump right now. The fact Tatis hit a home run in yesterday's game, and like Carlos said, is probably, I don't really hate Manny Machado. I probably dislike Tatis more, especially when he hit the home run yesterday and his mannerisms for everything. I'm like, why did we give up a home run to this guy? Why?
I think I go Profar, Tatis, and then Machado. Tatis really annoys me. I think I mentioned this part. He's got to stop with that stupid little step back he's done at third for 4 years already. Like, dude, get over it already. Just run the bases,
But if we go by the boo scale, Machado beats him hands down by it's not even a competition. And Profar,
I just don't understand. Like, I get why people boo Machado because he's on the Padres now and he signed with them. I look back on the 2018 season fondly, and I liked Machado as a player. I don't know why so many people hate him.
I think when he was with the Orioles, at least for me, this is for me. I can't speak on everybody's behalf, but when he was with the Orioles and he throws a bat intentionally to third base, when he spikes, I forget the guy at first base,
Jose Aguilar.
Yeah, when he spikes him. And then when he's with the Dodgers and he wouldn't run out ground balls for double plays and stuff like that. That's why he's not
Johnny Hustle, dude.
He's definitely not. He's definitely not. So those are a couple of reasons why me personally, I don't like him, and it comes down to the old baseball, but the game has evolved and it's a different game. And so, but yeah, it's just fun to boo him anyways.
Alrighty, well, hopefully the Dodgers win tonight. Like I said, a win wins the division. But last topic today, not a Dodgers topic, but it's kind of a Major League Baseball topic. And I don't know if anybody was on social media today. The Oakland A's did play their final game in Oakland today at the Oakland Coliseum. Lot to pack in the 56 years that they have been in Oakland. 4 World Series titles, 6 AL pennants, 17 division titles. Obviously, if you follow baseball history, the Athletics are one of the most historic franchises in the sport. They've been around since the early 1900s. Yes, they started in Philadelphia. Yes, they moved to Kansas City for a brief bit, but in Oakland is where we remember them from. So, Carlos,
How'd you guys feel over there on the East Coast when they left Philadelphia? You remember that one?
no, I don't remember that one. I was barely even a thought. I don't even think my mom was a thought. So, but yeah, it's definitely a big thing in baseball. It's happening. You've seen multiple insiders tweeting. Jeff Passan, he tweeted his thoughts on it, just saying, the only people that are to blame for this whole thing are the MLB owners, and especially Rob Manfred. So, Carlos, what are your thoughts on the A's moving? Do you feel bad for the fans? What are your overall thought process? Would you have taken a chair? Because I know I saw people doing that.
I definitely would have taken a chair, signs, whatever I could get my hands on. You know what? I've read so many different things, but ultimately, I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. I think the city is at fault. I mean, the city has lost the football team. The basketball team went from Oakland to San Francisco. I mean, the baseball team's now gone. The stadium is a piece of crap. I mean, I've read somewhere where they're like, it's a piece of crap now. I mean, it's been a piece of crap for a long time. I went there like over 10 years ago. I went with my daughter up to do like a college tour, and we stopped for an Oakland game, the A's game, to get some bobbleheads or something. I forget what it was, but the stadium back then was awful, and it's been a dump for a long time, And so the owners, MLB, the city, they haven't done anything at all to try to get them a new venue. Supposedly they have. I read this whole thing where the owners tried really hard to get this venue somewhere by the port in Oakland or something. It didn't go through, and I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. But Oakland, it's just crazy because the elected officials don't really care about the people. I mean, all the jobs that they're losing, all the tax revenues they're losing. I mean, it's just it's bad all around. I did watch the game. I thought that the fans would rush the field, but they didn't. I saw like a couple of smoke bombs thrown on the field. I saw a person ran on the field. But yeah, it was like kind of bittersweet. It was nice to see 47,000 plus people be at the stadium, watch this final game. You had all these old players showing up. Barry Zito sang the national anthem, which was really cool. Dave Stewart and Ricky Henderson threw out the first pitch. I mean, just the game, and then the game was actually a good game. It was a close game. So yeah, it's sad. It's like you were saying earlier. I mean, I don't know how well we know the A's, but I've watched documentaries. I mean, they were like champions 3 years in a row, 72, 73, and 74. And that says a lot. This is before free agency. And then that's when their team explodes and all these players just end up going elsewhere. But remember, we had mentioned before, there's such a great story, the Oakland A's, with we mentioned Mrs. Fields. Remember I told you that Mrs. Fields was a ball girl there, and she used to hand out cookies to the players, and she's actually Mrs. Fields. MC Hammer was like the bat boy, the dugout kid or something. And so there's really cool stories, and it's kind of sad to see them go. And next 2-3 years they're going to play in Sacramento in the stadium that only seats 14,000 people. Nobody's going to be able to get in, and if they can, it's going to be super expensive. It's just not even going to be worth it. I don't even know if they started construction in Vegas. I hear some like old time players and even staff that says they don't believe it's going to happen. They actually believe that the A's will come back to Oakland. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's not a good look for baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah, the whole reason is because the A's are in a state of limbo. They don't have necessary plans. They have plans to move to Vegas. They have plans for the new stadium. The owners voted, they are all in agreement that they would approve of the move to Vegas. So that is the plan. But nothing's been approved. There's been no, site, bought to say, hey, this is where the stadium's going to be built. They're playing in Sacramento. Don't know how long they're going to be playing there. It's going to be really weird. I think if you're a visiting team, it's going to be annoying because you're basically playing, major leaguers in a minor league stadium. That doesn't just mean that the stadium's a minor league stadium. It means the facilities are minor league. It means the clubhouses are minor league. Like, you don't make to make it to the major leagues to get, to go backwards. And, that's something that the A's are going to face right now. I also agree with you, Carlos. John Fisher deserves all the hate that he's getting. So does the city of Oakland. So does the elected officials. they couldn't come together and compromise on a deal to get the Howard Stadium terminal project agreed upon, which, looking at the concepts, would have been a really nice stadium right on the bay. They couldn't get it to happen, and there's a whole lot more involved than what we know. We don't know what went behind the scenes. You know, a lot of people said Fisher really, his whole goal was just to leave Oakland. I don't necessarily know if that's the truth or not, just because we don't know anybody involved in that. Oh, that's a lot of he said, she said. But I would have loved to see the team stay in Oakland. When I look at, especially baseball when I was growing up, the A's were a good baseball team. When you guys were growing up, they were a really good baseball team. They were a powerhouse. When I was growing up, they were just a smart baseball team that took advantage, and with the small payroll, the whole Moneyball movement, I thought that was fun to look into. And, even in the 2010s, they had a lot of really good teams. In 2013 specifically, I remember watching the postseason. You had a lot of young players on that team. Josh Donaldson was in his first or his second or third year. Sonny Gray was in his second or third year pitching in the postseason, going toe-to-toe with Justin Verlander. They won the division in 2020, and, they've made a couple ALCSs. They just couldn't get back to the World Series since, 89 was their last appearance. So they didn't want to take care of the stadium, and it looked like they were just getting ready to leave regardless. And why would you take care of the stadium when you know you're going to leave? From the photos I even seen today, I was like, man, this stadium is in rough shape. Seats are rusted. That's probably why they were able to pull them off, Carlos, because they weren't even bolted to the ground anymore. But yeah, I think it is sad. Roger, what are your thoughts on the A's moving?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad for baseball, for the city of Oakland, right? The generations of fans that grew up there in Oakland, right? You have your families, your fathers, sons, daughters, right, that grew up with that team, and then potentially, right, they're going to be pulled out and going somewhere else. That's sad as a fan, right? You think of, I know it's happened with the Dodgers, right, when they were in Brooklyn, but now they've been in LA. But if they ever left, right, you kind of think, how would that affect you as a fan, right? Do you follow them? Will they continue to follow them to Vegas if they go to Vegas or whatever, right? I know the Raiders left. The Raiders have been they're like everybody's team, right? It doesn't matter where they go. They have that fan base that they don't care where they're from. I mean, will the Oakland A fans do that? A lot of them said they're not going to even follow them to Sacramento, which isn't that far from them, right? It's like an hour and a half from where they're at. So, I don't know. Hopefully something could get worked out where, if the Vegas thing falls through and, they can build them a stadium in Oakland, keep them there, that'd be the best thing for the city and baseball. But, sad, for as being a fan, sad to see your team, just take off.
Yeah, it's a whole sad situation. It's going to be really weird because I know, looking at the schedule next year for the Dodgers travel to Sacramento. They're going to be playing in that stadium. Interested to see how the bats are working that series, because I think they play them in the middle of the summer. It gets really hot in Sacramento. Am I right? Because I saw people posting the weather, and it was 110, 114 degrees. They were saying that the logistics of playing day games there, especially if they say looking in the future, if they want to play day games in Vegas, that's impossible. You're dealing with 115 degree heat.
I think they mentioned that too. If they're going to play day games there when it's in midsummer, they might have to do them early because it's going to be so hot. So they're going to have to figure out stuff like you mentioned. The facilities, they said the facilities are not close to anything MLB, and they actually need to do upgrades over this winter if they're going to have them there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's a evolving story, especially in this offseason, to see what the A's do and if anything gets approved for Vegas. But before we get out of here, let's kind of go with our predictions for this game tonight. Carlos, I know you think they're going to win, but give me a final score. And you already said Max Muncy's going deep, so what's the final line?
Yeah, I got 8-5 today.
8-5. All righty, yeah. I'll go with mine before I shoot it with Roger. I think 5-2. I think Buehler goes, 5 solid innings. I think he struggles with the command a little bit, allows 2 earned runs. I think the bullpen, I think they're pretty much locked in right now. I don't think there's really anybody touching them, especially if they use the same group of guys that they've used the past 2 nights, which, they haven't really gotten to any traffic, a lot of low pitch innings, really. So they should be fresh, especially for a game like tonight. It is a postseason-like game. So, and I think Betts makes an impact, and I think Ohtani makes an impact as well, as Roger alluded to, where I think they want to clinch today. I think they want to clinch in front of the fans. So, Roger, what are you picking? Are you going to be celebrating with the team tonight in the clubhouse?
I'll go 7-4 Dodgers. And yeah, I mean, I hope they clinch, because if they do, we'll be in that clubhouse too. So if you're just stumbling across us, hit that subscribe button, hit the likes. There'll be footage of the celebration. So make sure you stick to the channel, come back and check it out, because like I said, if they're popping champagne, I'm going to go in there and see if I find like a Juan Toribio. I told him yesterday, if I find him, I'm going to pour some champagne on his head. So
there you go. Yeah, we're all calling our shots 3 for 3. We all think the Dodgers are going to win today, so I'm assuming they're probably going to lose now. So play reverse psychology with that one. But yeah, hopefully they clinch, get this division over with, go into Colorado, rest those starters, and get ready for the postseason. But like Roger said, make sure to like and subscribe to the page. We got a lot of content. We got the post-game interviews for the past couple games, especially in this series. We also interviewed Tim Neverett, the Dodgers radio play-by-play announcer. That was a big interview we had with him, especially going over his 50-50 home run call with Shohei Ohtani that kind of made its way around social media, getting a lot of praise. So be sure to check that one out, especially all the other player interviews that we already have on our page. So anything else from you guys before we close it out and get ready for this game?
I mean, two things. I wanted to cover the kid who's the lawsuit for the Otani's ball. I thought that's funny. I know that we talked about that off the air before. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Does he have a legitimate lawsuit?
I don't think so. And, we talked a little bit before we went live here. If anyone's seen the video up close, it was a scuffle. Obviously, I would be in the mix. I would be punching people in there to get that baseball just because how valuable it is. And people were diving over tables, diving on concrete, no less. So, yeah, and it ended up coming down between one gentleman in a black shirt and then a young, I believe, 18-year-old kid in a Marlins jersey. I don't think there's enough video evidence to show that the kid was actually had the ball. In my eyes, when I watched it, tracking it, the guy that came up with the ball had it the entire time. And it's going to be really hard to overturn that, especially with the type of situation that is. Even if there was hey, I originally had this ball, originally had this ball, and it got knocked out. That's just life. You're not going to win every battle, and I just don't think this is going to be a case that's going to go on long. I am interested, and we can all comment this, in the live chat right now, how much this ball is going to go for. It was listed on the auction house for $500,000 starting. So it's just going to keep going up from there. Carlos, you mentioned it's a $1 million ball. I was kind of along those same lines. Like I've been saying, think some Japanese, monopoly, guy is gonna, maybe the owner of Sony or something is just gonna buy that ball and, for a couple $1 million. We'll see what happens. But do you guys have any estimates what you think that ball is gonna go for?
I got $4 million.
That's a lot.
Yep.
Roger, you along those lines too?
yeah, I think that's what they kind of said. Somebody can just straight out buy it for that price, something like that, right? Like 4.4, 4.5. I think probably you'll go for that.
If it goes for over $3 million, that's a lot for a baseball. But we'll see what happens with the auction. I think it's really fun to look into that. Carlos, you know more about auctions and everything. How long do they usually take when they're starting the bidding?
Oh, that's a good question. I've seen some that go a whole week, so they do a whole week. But yeah, I think it will get the $4 million. I think, like you said, I think it'll be some CEO from a company from Japan, especially probably one of these companies that actually sponsor him or sponsor the Dodgers now, and that's who's going to probably end up taking the ball.
All righty, well, we'll see what that ball goes for. Hopefully we're celebrating a Dodgers win today. Hopefully they can clinch the division, their 11th division title in 12 years. Hopefully they can take care of the Padres, like Carlos said. So anything you want to close out on, Roger, before we end it?
Breaking news, Anthony Banda just got activated.
Here we go. What's the corresponding move?
Brent Honeywell is injured with a crack.
Oh, my God.
Right middle finger nail. He cracked that fingernail. So he's on the IL.
Oh, my God. These fake injuries. These fake injuries.
So you
All
broke
right,
a
well,
leg.
there you go. We got the breaking news on the live. We will see you on the weekly rewind on Sunday. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.